Hey guys, so I haven't done an album review in a while, and the reason being why is because I've been doing vocal covers lately. I've been really promoting my vocals and getting them out there to find a slam death metal project or any kind of project there is. And I found somebody online, and we are going to form a slam death metal project. I'll give you guys more details at a later date when we get our recording equipment, when we get some songs made. I'll give you guys all kinds of cool details about it, but for right now, I found somebody who wanted to do a project, so I'm really going to start doing album reviews until I'm requested to do a vocal cover. By all means, if you guys have any songs, just request them below. And I really appreciate you guys sticking with me through that channel change. For the past few weeks, I've been doing vocal covers, so I really appreciate that. So now that we're done with the little intro, let's get into the album. For those of you who aren't my subscribers, sorry for that long intro. Okay, so the band is Rest in Gore, and the album is Culinary Buffet of Hacked Innards, and there is the gory, sickening artwork. First off, good artwork. I have no complaints with the artwork whatsoever. Now, for those of you who don't know who Rest in Gore are, they're a three-piece slam death metal band that formed around the early 2000s. Really, the best way to describe their sound is Japanese slam death metal. It's really got that poppy feeling to it. It's got a few jazz parts, but really what it is at its heart is slam death metal. But it comes from the region of Japan, so it does have that little Japanese influence for those of you who have never listened to Japan slam. Now, what really got Rest in Gore out there was their 2006 split release of Leaving People Victimized, and that was a great, fantastic release. I love it. I have no complaints for it whatsoever. I own the album. It's a great split release. Rest in Gore's side is the best side of my opinion, and just the pig squealish and the poppy guitar riffs and the poppy slams, just really great album. So now we fast forward 2011 where they released this album, and it's been a few years since they put anything out there. So let's get into a review. Vocals. Vocals on this album have been a complaint for a lot of people lately. Some people say the vocals are just too melodramatic. There's really nothing there. They're really just mellow. There's nothing cool about them. They're not exciting. But to me, they're actually pretty exciting. If you actually listen very closely, you can tell the vocalist is mixing a regular guttural, such as Amputated uses, and a normal low, just such as any death metal band uses, and they're mixing the two together, which is actually a style that has been used a lot lately in a lot of slam death metal bands. But I've never heard Rest in Gore do it, because last time I heard Rest in Gore, they were doing all pig squeals. So this is a huge vocal change, but it's a pretty good one actually. I found myself missing the pig squeals though throughout half the album, but after I got used to it, I actually prefer these vocals than the whole pig squeal the whole time. So yeah, vocals are just an average low mixed with a guttural, no complaints for them. Really nothing new to write home about, but still a good vocal. Okay, now we get into instrumentals. First off, before I go into each section of the guitar and the bass and the drums, allow me to explain the slams. The slams on this album are okay. There's some slams on this album, such as the second track when you get about a minute into it, and it's really just leading up to the slam. You're like, yeah, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and then the slam hits you, and you're like, yeah! Yeah, you get that excited. The slam, actually, they lead you up to the slam, but they anticipate it so long that, like, when it comes there, you're like a little kid at Christmas. You're like, yay! Thank you! And, yeah. The slams on some parts of that are just amazingly fast, and they're brutal. Some of them are super slow, some of them are super fast. Just great slams, but there is one complaint I have. I feel some of the slams lead to a chorus breakdown, such as, I hate to use the word, but metalcore and deathcore, which by all means the genres have to each their own, but this album has a few breakdowns that do sound like a deathcore or metalcore breakdown. But in their construct they sound like that, but in the construct of the guitar play and the bass and the drums, they're really not. Now, Rest in Gore's guitar riffs are just amazing. They are totally different than the Leaving People Victimized split, just as the vocals were totally different. They're a huge change up. The guitar riffs on this album, really the best way to explain them is jazzy-like. If you listen to the fifth track, they're just really poppy and fresh guitar riffs, and they're just, they're catchy as hell. I can find myself for the fifth track, Putrid Autopsy, I believe it's called, and I find myself listening to that in my head without my headphones, and I can just, hear my head. It's stuck in my head. It's just, ooh. The riffs on this album are very catchy. and they have that very just good jazzy feeling, very poppy, something like you'd hear in Japanese slam. And the guitar riffs on this album, I do have one complaint. Apart from their being original and they sound just fantastic and jazzy and really catchy and just awesome, and ooh, the guitar riffs are used a lot. Like, it's one simple guitar riff throughout this album. If you listen to Putrid Autopsy, the 5th track, and the 2nd track, you will actually hear the like similarities inside those two guitar riffs, which for some people it can get a little bit repetitive, and for some people it can't. Really, you can't tell the difference unless you're listening that close to it, and I'm an album reviewer, so I listen that close to stuff. But the guitar riffs on those albums are just a little bit too similar, but still, guitar riffs is just boom in your face when it comes to breakdowns and the slams. When it's in the middle of a song and the chugs, it sounds great. And when it's first starting out a song, the intro riffs on this album are just amazing. Okay, we got that done. Bass. Bass is actually, I have a little bit of a complaint for that. This is a 3-piece band, so I was expecting the bass to be a little bit more audible than what it is. I was expecting the bass to be right out there with the guitar, but throughout the album you can hear the bass, but when you hear it, it's really following the guitar to a point. Like, you know the bass is there, you can hear it, but it's kind of following the guitar at a lot of points throughout the album. So bass is played in to my liking, it's okay. To some people you may have a complaint. Drums. Oh, the drums on this album are just amazing. They have, first off, my favorite style of drumming is on this album. It's the trash can style drum. It just sounds like trash cans, and I absolutely love that style of drumming. I love it to death. That's my personal opinion. To each his own. But the drummer, apart from using my favorite style of drumming, is actually really, really, really fast. Just insanely fast. I've heard drummers be this fast before, but using the trash can style technique and the drummer's just intensity of the drums, like if you listen to, I believe it's the 7th track, Pierced Eyeballs, you can hear his drums and they sound so, they make your body feel so tense, and it's like, yeah, insane. So absolutely amazing drumming. It actually, the first drums I've ever really heard that provoke emotions into me of the tensity and anger. So drumming, excellent. Now we can get into the production of this album. I give the production a 3 out of 5 because of the drums overpowering everything pretty much. Which, by all means, if you're a drumming person like me, that's great. But I am also a vocalist, so I like to hear the vocalist. If you listen to the 7th track, Pierced Eyeballs, you really have to concentrate to hear the vocals and the guitar riffs. And just, yeah, throughout this album, the drums are really dominating. I don't know if they wanted that when they were making the album. I don't know if the band wanted that or the producer wanted that or who wanted it, but I kind of wish that the drums were just muffled down to a little bit. I like drums overpowering stuff by all means. When the drums overpowering something, I'm just, okay, cool. But when it's overpowering it to the point where I really can't hear it, then I don't like it. So the production on this album's decent. You can hear the vocals throughout pretty much all the rest of the tracks, but when the drummer kicks in, he starts going really, really, really fast and goes, you really have to concentrate to hear the guitar riffs and the vocals. But that's my personal opinion. To each his own. Now, would I tell anybody to buy this album? Yes. I am a fan. I am a huge fan of Japanese slam, for one, so that really got me into this album. What also got me into this album was Rest in Gore is actually one of the bands that got me started in slam death metal, because I used to be just an all brutal death metal head. I really didn't care that much for slam. I didn't like it. It wasn't that cool. But when I heard Rest in Gore, I really gave the genre more of a chance to listen to. Sorry for my stuttering. But musically, great. Vocals are great. Instrumentals are great. And just all in all, this is a great album from 2011.